In this video, we will learn about blood group, the blood group alleles, antigens, how blood groups are inherited from our parents, and in what blood group combinations transfusions can be done. Let's try to understand chromosomes, genes, and alleles. We all know that humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes in every cell of the human body. Each chromosome has 100 to 1000 genes on it, and each gene corresponds to a particular trait, and it pairs itself with a similar gene on the paired chromosome. For example, a gene that is for hair color will pair itself with a gene for hair color on the other chromosome, just like the steps of a ladder. Now, what is an allele? Allele are these genes that occupy a specific location on a chromosome. Alleles control the traits. Never will a gene for hair color pair itself with a gene for blood type. That will cause a chromosomal abnormality. Now, if the alleles are of the same type in the same trait, it is called homozygous alleles. If the paired alleles are of different types, then it's called heterozygous alleles. As an example, hair color black can be on one allele where the gene controls the trait of hair color, and the other allele may have, the paired allele may have a brown colored hair. So each one coming from each parent. In heterozygous cases, most of the times you will have a dominant recessive combination where the dominant will show on the person. So if the hair color black is dominant over brown, then the color that shows on the person will be black. And this is called heterozygous. When it's homozygous, it doesn't matter because both the alleles are of the same type. Now that we have looked at genes and alleles, we'll try to understand what is genotype and phenotype. Genotype is the exact gene present in the body, and phenotype is how it appears on the outside. For example, as in hair color, we are not going to have a gene of color black or the hair inside the cell. It's a genetically protein and amino acids coded molecule which shows itself on as a certain type of hair, texture of hair or color of hair. So every characteristic is coded in the gene. The coded gene is called the genotype, and how it appears, manifests on the outside is called the phenotype. And today we will learn the genotype and phenotype of blood groups and how they are homozygous and heterozygous, and how a homozygous appears as a blood group and how a heterozygous pairing appears in the blood group. Our blood group is determined by the ABO gene. The ABO gene has three types of alleles, A, B and I. The blood type is determined by the combination of these alleles, of two alleles from each chromosome. And what are these alleles exactly? They create antigens on the red blood cell membrane. And these antigens are actually protein molecules. So, the genotype is the ABO gene, the alleles A, I, B and I, and the phenotype, what it appears in the person, is the blood group. It is the antigens, the protein molecules present on the RBC. alleles A and B are dominant and the allele I is recessive. If a person has allele A, he will have antigens of type A on the RBC. If a person has allele B, the antigen of type B is on the RBC. And if a person has allele I, there is no antigen on the RBC. A and B are dominant and I is recessive. So combination of A and I will show up as A blood group. That means it will have type A antigens. Let's look at how we obtain 4 different blood groups from the ABO gene combination. We inherit an allele from each parent. Let's look at blood group A. For blood group A, we have to inherit the allele A. In case we inherit both alleles A from each parent, since both are same, this is a homozygous combination, the type A antigens will show on the RBC. And if we inherit A allele from one parent and the I allele from the other, since the I is recessive and A is dominant, the A will show up on the blood. The type A antigens will show on the RBC. And this will also show as blood group A. So basically blood group A can be of two types, homozygous AA or heterozygous AI. The same goes for the B blood group. It can be homozygous BB or heterozygous BI. Now let's look at AB. In case of AB, there is no homozygous combination because we inherit the allele A from one parent and allele B from the other parent. Since both are dominant, both will show up on the RBC. Both the A and B antigens will be on the RBC. Hence, it is called codominant heterozygous blood group AB. In case of blood group O, the inheritance is homozygous. Both the alleles will be the recessive I allele, and since it is recessive but both are the same, it is homozygous. So this is what will show on the blood and no antigens will be on the RBC. In fact, the type O means 0, which means no antigens. Here you have to be very careful when we say no antigens. The blood has more than 200 types of antigens and we are only talking about the antigens that are caused by the ABO gene. We are just talking about a particular gene. In case of blood group O, the ABO gene does not produce any antigens, the B, A or the B antigen. This table shows the different ways in which blood groups can be combined during transfusion. If a person has type A blood group, it means he may be having both alleles A or AI. In either case, he has A-type antigens on the RBC. So he can receive blood from either A blood group or O blood group. Since O blood group does not have any antigens, it will not create any reaction in his body when O is transfused to A. If we try to transfuse B to this patient who has A blood group, there will be B antigens passing on to his blood which will cause an immune reaction. And in type B, it's the same. He can only receive from B blood group or O. If the person has type AB, he can receive blood from any of the blood groups because he has both the antigens A and B and all the blood groups will match his blood type. There will not be any immune reaction since he has both the antigens. In case of type O blood group, since no antigens are present, no antigens of the ABO gene are present on the RBC, only O can donate blood to this blood group as A, B or AB will cause adverse immune reaction. Please like, share and subscribe to School Easy to get more interesting videos. Blood has several components. It has vitamins, minerals. It is extremely important to have a healthy diet and a balanced diet to maintain the composition of your blood. So we must have combination of carbohydrates, healthy fat, proteins, vitamins and minerals. Do not binge on junk food, and most importantly, do not waste food. Only buy or cook food as much as is required. And look out for a blood donation camp that is in and around near your residential area. All places in the world have blood donation centers. If you have healthy blood, please do donate. Let's try some activities. In the first case, three children have blood groups A positive and O positive. So if the father is O positive, try to guess the blood group of the mother. And are the children having a heterozygous or homozygous combination? I have not covered positive and negative blood groups in this video. So in this case, we will just look at positive blood groups. In the third case, the table shown is a Punnet's chart. Try to find out what combination the children can have and what is the probability of them receiving a certain blood group. Pause the video to check for the answers to activity 1. In the next activity, try to answer the questions based on the slides above. There is a case here of a man with type A blood married to a woman with type O blood. Draw out the different combinations of blood groups the children can have. This is also called a Punnett chart. And they have 2 natural children and 1 adopted child. Since different blood groups are given, you can identify the blood group that the natural children will have and the adopted child has a different combination. Try to find who is the adopted child. Mark all the combinations of a donor recipient. This has already been given in a slide above. Here are the answers to activity 2. Identify the blood group based on these diagrams. The diagrams have already been given in the slides above. This is an interesting home activity. Compare your blood groups with your siblings and try to guess the blood groups of your parents. In the next lesson, we'll cover about antibodies, positive negative blood groups, genotype and phenotype, and the different kinds of blood transfusions. Please like, share and subscribe to School Easy to get more interesting videos.